Okay, so let's start with this. What if the single most overlooked strategy for breakthrough leadership wasn't some new technology or, the latest management mantra, but something really quiet, like a whisper?
Hmm. That's a powerful question to kick us off.
Yeah, and that's really what we're diving into today. This whole deep dive, it's not about like religious rituals exactly, but exploring this idea of a prayer-filled life, seeing it as a deep, transformative conversation.
Right. And you've given us a great stack of sources here, really insightful stuff, digging into the Christian and biblical perspectives on this.
Exactly. So our mission really is to pull out the most important nuggets, maybe uncover some surprising facts, and help you understand how this intangible dimension, wisdom, discernment, inner peace, how it's maybe more critical than ever, especially now in this crazy hyper-connected world.
It's so foundational.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, for a lot of high achievers, for leaders, prayer often feels like, well, an afterthought.
Right, or something you should do.
Yeah, exactly. It's either that emotional crutch you grab when things get tough, or maybe just another checkbox on some spiritual to-do list, if it even makes the list.
Mm-hmm.
And the sources we looked at really highlight how that approach.
Yeah.
It often leads straight to burnout, feeling disconnected, missing out on, well, genuine insight.
So what's the alternative, the counterintuitive truth, as you put it?
Well, the idea is that a prayer life that's, deeply ingrained, it doesn't just add to your life. It actually shapes everything, every decision, every strategy, how you relate to people. It becomes this catalytic force.
A catalytic force. I like that. And it feels especially relevant now, doesn't it? The constant noise, the pace of change.
Oh, absolutely. Think about the pressure leaders are under.
Yeah.
Constant pings, rapid change, just digital overwhelm everywhere. It demands something intangible.
Mm.
Wisdom, discernment stuff that spreadsheets alone just can't give you.
Yeah. Data's great, but it's not everything.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And if you dismiss prayer as just, spiritual fluff, you risk trading these short-term wins for this long-term kind of emptiness, maybe a lack of real strategic depth.
The flip side.
The flip side is, for those who actually learn to weave these, genuine contemplative practices into their daily rhythm, they start gaining insights no data set can offer. And a kind of resilience no training program can really teach.
Okay, so we need to shift how we even define it. It's not just saying prayers.
Exactly. It's not about isolated moments of saying prayers. It's more like an ongoing posture, a state of availability to something larger than yourself.
Yeah. Availability.
Yeah. Prayer starts to saturate every part of your being. It's not kept in a little box for Sunday morning or, when crisis hits. It gets woven into the fabric of just daily existence.
Like that Richard Foster quote you mentioned from one of the sources about noise and hurry.
Yes, precisely. Foster nails it. He says, in contemporary society, our adversary majors in three things: noise, hurry, and crowds. If he can keep us engaged in muchness and manyness, he will rest satisfied. This ongoing posture, this prayer-filled life, it's a direct counter to that, a powerful antidote.
That makes so much sense. And the sources seem to make this really interesting distinction. Is prayer just like an emergency thing, that lifeline you grab?
Or is it something deeper?
Yeah.
Exactly. It's the difference between prayer as a lifeline, that emergency rope, and prayer as lifeblood.
Lifeblood.
Yeah. The sources really hammer this home. True prayer is existential. It's meant to be the normal, indispensable state of a life connected to its source. It's like, what we were designed for, what you were never truly meant to live without.
Okay, that really clarifies the core idea. So let's unpack the biblical side now. If someone's trying to grasp where this idea comes from in Scripture, where do we start?
Well, you can trace it right back, to the very first pages, Genesis.
The Garden of Eden.
Exactly. Genesis 3:8, it describes God just, walking and talking with Adam and Eve in the cool of the day. And notice, this was before commandments, before rituals. It was just communion, unbroken, intimate, unhurried.
Wow, so that's the original design.
That's the picture, yeah.
Yeah.
And that original design, it kind of echoes deep down, doesn't it? We were made for that kind of fellowship.
And then moving forward, Jesus himself seems to embody this completely. You see him praying constantly. Luke 5:1 says he often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. What's really striking about his prayer life, based on the sources, anything counterintuitive there?
That's a great question. It's not just that he prayed, but maybe when and how. Those withdrawals. They weren't really escapes from his work. They were profound encounters, spaces where his power wasn't just performed, but deeply received, aligned.
So it fueled the work. It wasn't a break from it.
Yeah, precisely. And that's why the disciples' request in Luke 11:1 is so revealing. Lord, teach us to pray. They clearly sense that everything else, his authority, his peace, his clarity, his compassion, it all flowed from this quiet, steady connection with the Father.
That connection was the source.
Absolutely. Jesus even says it himself in John 5:19, something like, the Son can do nothing by himself. He can only do what he sees his Father doing. That points to a level of alignment, of communion, that's only possible through that deep, consistent connection. For Jesus, prayer wasn't a duty. It was like breath. It was home.
Wow. Okay, and then there's Paul, his famous line in 1 Thessalonians 5:1, pray without ceasing. How does that fit in? If it's not literally talking all the time, how does it connect to that lifeblood idea?
It is the lifeblood idea, really. It's the perfect embodiment of it. Paul isn't saying, maintain a constant verbal stream. It's about cultivating this perpetual awareness and communion, a continuous state of connection, almost like breathing, as we said. Every moment live with this underlying sense of God's presence, not just reserving prayer for specific slots.
Okay. Now, let's shift gears slightly. Let's get into this fascinating, sometimes maybe misunderstood area, the contemplative tradition.
Yeah, this is really illuminating because the first thing to grasp is that this contemplative stuff, it isn't some new age invention, not at all. It's a deep well, and it has really strong biblical roots.
Like Psalm 46.9, be still and know that I am God.
Exactly. And that phrase, be still, the Hebrew word is raphah. It means something like to let go, to release, even to sink. It's talking about an intentional letting go of control, of inner striving, especially when things are chaotic around you. It's an act of surrender, actually, not just passive waiting.
Active surrender. I like that. It reminds me of Elijah on Mount Horeb. 1 Kings 19, God wasn't in the wind or the earthquake or the fire.
But in the still small voice, or some translations say, a sound of gentle stillness.
Right. Which implies it takes a trained heart, a quieted heart, to even hear it. It's not about God shouting louder, it's about us getting quieter.
Precisely. Our stillness, not God's volume. And this thread, this contemplative stream, it runs right through Christian history. You see it with the desert fathers and mothers back in the 3rd century. They went out to the desert seeking Hesychasm, this deep inner stillness, this pure prayer. That's where things like the Jesus prayer really developed.
Okay. And then later figures.
Yeah, you get St. Benedict in the 6th century, integrating ora et labora, prayer and work, showing that this isn't just for monks and cells. It's for daily life, daily labor.
So bringing it into the everyday.
Exactly. Then you have medieval mystics, Julian of Norwich, Teresa of Avila, who famously described prayer as a close sharing between friends. St. John of the Cross, talking about the dark night of the soul. They all carried this torch. And practices like Lectio Divina, divine reading, and centering prayer, they emerged as practical ways to help posture the heart in that stillness.
So if we boil it down, what are the real benefits of this contemplative approach? Especially thinking about someone in a demanding leadership role today. How does it actually help you lead better?
Okay, key insight for leaders. In this age where everyone's mind is scattered, where decision fatigue is real, this intentional inner stillness, it's not a luxury. It's actually a strategic advantage. It gives you unparalleled clarity and focus.
How so?
Well, first, it reorders your inner world. It provides that calm clarity, even when chaos is swirling outside. It's the antidote to that muchness and manyness Foster talked about.
Okay, clarity. What else?
Second, it's how you actually tune yourself to hear that deeper wisdom. You develop spiritual sensitivity. You start to discern that higher whisper amid all the noise demanding your attention.
Hearing the signal through the noise.
Right. And third, think about the leader constantly juggling roles. Visionary, manager, strategist, parent, spouse. It's fragmenting, right? It can be exhausting. Contemplation helps integrate all those pieces. It allows you to lead from a place of authentic wholeness. And importantly, it brings healing. It reminds you that in God's quiet presence, your core identity is simply child. And finding that identity brings healing.
That's a really powerful reframe. Okay, so thinking about that identity piece, what does all this mean for who you actually become, both in your life and in your leadership? How does this inner work translate outwards?
It changes you profoundly from the inside out. First, as you said, it anchors your identity.
Yeah.
Unshakable identity, especially for high achievers who are often defined by what they do, by performance. Prayer offers this crucial recalibration. Your true strength, your leadership capacity, it starts flowing from knowing you're beloved, not from proving yourself.
Like Jesus' baptism.
Exactly. Matthew 3:1, Stephen. The Father declares, "This is my beloved Son," before Jesus performs a single miracle, before the public ministry even starts. Identity is bestowed, given, not earned. Prayer keeps us rooted in that fundamental truth.
Okay, I hear that. But for leaders under immense pressure to perform, to hit targets, how do you truly internalize that beloved identity when everything around you screams perform? And how does that then affect the tough decisions they face daily? Does it bring clarity to their calling, their career path?
It's a constant tension, for sure. But rooting yourself in that beloved identity, who you are, not just what you do, it frees you from that relentless need to prove yourself through achievement. And that freedom directly impacts your calling.
How so?
It fosters discernment. In a world shouting endless omniums and urging constant action, prayer cultivates this. Quiet wisdom. It helps you discern God's actual direction, what Jesus called the shepherd's voice in John 10:27. You start recognizing his leading rather than just reacting to pressure or chasing every shiny object that comes along. It's less about forcing outcomes, more about aligning with his flow.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Alignment over striving. And the third piece, inner healing.
Yes. Prayer becomes this vital space for inner healing. Look at the Psalms. They model it perfectly. It's where pain meets presence. It's a place you can be utterly vulnerable, where wounds get acknowledged, maybe confessed, and met with God's mercy. Prayer doesn't magically erase pain, but it creates the sanctuary where it can actually be healed and transformed.
Yeah.
And that builds incredible emotional resilience, which is just crucial for any leader.
This all sounds incredibly powerful. But okay, let's get practical. For someone living a really busy, high-pressure life, how do you actually do this? We can't all just disappear into monasteries, right? Sounds great, but where does the rubber meet the road when your calendar is jammed?
Absolutely. No monastery required. The sources are really clear on this. Cultivating a prayer-filled life isn't about dropping out. It's about transforming the mundane.
Transforming the mundane.
We can actually turn routine tasks, washing the dishes, the daily commute, folding laundry into these little micro moments for connection, whispering words of trust, surrender, gratitude. Remember Brother Lawrence? He famously talked about finding God among the pots and pans.
That's such a great image, so relatable. Okay, so what are some key practices, some concrete steps someone could take, starting today maybe?
Okay, first step, establish some sacred space and time, even tiny amounts. Designate a consistent, maybe small, physical space. And a short time, seriously, even just 5 or 10 minutes a day as your daily altar, a place for stillness, becomes holy through habit.
Consistency over quantity.
Definitely. Second, embrace simplicity with words. Try what some call breath prayers. Short, sacred phrases like Jesus have mercy or Abba, I belong to you, repeated gently in rhythm with your breath throughout the day. It's a really powerful way to practice that pray without ceasing idea, keeping that awareness alive without having to stop everything else.
I love that. Turning your breath into prayer, weaving it right in. What else? Any other practices?
Yeah, next, try practicing holy listening through Lectio Divina, divine reading. It's not about speed reading scripture for information. It has these 4 movements. Lectio, slowly reading a short passage. Meditatio, mulling over a word or phrase that resonates, letting it soak in. Oratio, responding honestly to God from your heart. And contemplatio, just resting silently in God's presence. It engages your heart, not just your head.
Engaging the heart.
Journaling is another great one. Just write out your prayers. Don't edit. Don't censor. It becomes this living record, helps you trace God's faithfulness over time. And it's a safe space for raw honesty.
And maybe something to wrap up the day, especially for leaders who are constantly evaluating results.
Yes. End the day with the examine. It's an Ignatian practice. Basically, you review your day with God. Where did you notice his presence? Where did you feel you resisted him, maybe?
Yeah.
What grace do you need for tomorrow? It's like a brief spiritual audit.
A spiritual audit, okay.
And finally, maybe a bolder step for our noisy world. Consider a digital silence challenge. Just try a 24-hour fast from screens. Think of it as a sacred rebellion, a way to reclaim your attention span, to retune your inner ear to God's voice. Remember Jesus withdrawing. Elijah hearing the whisper, silence is key.
Wow, a sacred rebellion. That's provocative, and all these practices, they fit into a larger framework.
Right. They can be anchored in what's called a rule of life. Think of it like a trellis for your soul. Not rigid rules, but flexible rhythms, daily, weekly, monthly things that support your growth, helping you stay connected.
Okay, this sounds incredibly rich, but I'm guessing this contemplative path isn't always smooth sailing. There must be pitfalls, misunderstandings. What should people watch out for?
Oh, absolutely. That's a really crucial point to cover. One major danger is turning inward without also turning upward. True contemplation is God-focused adoration, not just navel-gazing. Meaning, without that Christ-centered anchor, just being silent can kind of devolve into what some call spiritualized narcissism. You become overly focused on your own inner states, your feelings, your insights, or you might even drift into syncretism, blending different beliefs without realizing it, mistaking your own thoughts for God's voice.
Okay, that makes sense. Need that anchor. But what about the leader who's totally overwhelmed? Retreating into prayer might feel like escaping responsibility. How do you ensure it's not just avoidance, but truly, as the sources say, empowerment for reentry?
That's the vital distinction. Genuine contemplation always leads back out, empowered. It fuels compassionate action. Remember, Jesus withdrew to pray, but then the sources say the power of the Lord was with him to heal when he returned to the people. If your prayer makes you detached from others' needs or your responsibilities, something's off. It's not authentic.
So it fuels action, not replaces it. What other dangers?
Another big one is falling into either elitism or legalism. Thinking this deep prayer stuff is only for special people, mystics, or monks. It's not. It's for everyone. Or turning the practices themselves into a performance game, making it overly complex, comparing yourself to others, feeling guilty if you miss a day. It kills the relationship aspect. It needs to be about availability, not mastery.
Availability, not mastery. Got it. And you touched on emotions earlier. What if someone is constantly chasing a certain feeling in prayer? Or maybe the opposite, they feel absolutely nothing, just dry.
Both are common pitfalls. Chasing feelings turns the experience into the goal rather than God himself. Emotions come and go. They're like passing clouds, not the sky itself, as one source put it. True prayer is often forged in simple surrender, even when feelings aren't there. Think of Jesus in Gethsemane.
And the dryness, feeling nothing.
That's often called spiritual dryness or the dark night of the soul. It can feel like God is distant. But the mystics teach that God sometimes withdraws that felt sense of presence, not as punishment, but actually to deepen our love, to purify our motives, to burn away our reliance on consolations rather than on him alone. The key during those times is just persistence. Keep showing up.
Keep showing up. Okay, any final pitfalls?
Just briefly, watch out for self-focus in general, and making an idol out of the practices themselves. Remember, prayer is fundamentally a relationship to be entered, not a skill to be mastered. The tools, the journal, the candle, the quiet corner, they are means to an end, not the end itself. Which is why the sources really emphasize staying anchored in Scripture, being rooted in a real-life community, and having spiritual friends or mentors, guards for the journey, you could say.
That's really helpful framing. Guards for the journey. So, okay, after navigating all these potential challenges, what's the bigger picture? What does this all mean for your life, your influence beyond just yourself? What's the broader, tangible fruit of living this way?
Well, fundamentally, living a prayer-filled life becomes a kind of subversive act in today's world. It actively resists the constant pressure to perform, to consume, to live on the surface.
A subversive act.
Yeah.
How does that reshape your influence?
It fosters qualities like patience, deep compassion, genuine humility. It makes you, as a leader or just as a person, less reactive and more responsive, less driven by anxiety, more anchored in peace. It's leadership, or just living, that flows from a place of inner wholeness, not external pressures or ego.
And this connects to what the sources called kingdom participation, bringing this into all areas of life.
Exactly. It's not just about being a better leader in isolation. It translates into spirit-led decisions in the boardroom, yes, but also more nurturing parenting at home, more integrity and wholeness in your creative work, more ethical conduct in your business. It fuels actions rooted in compassion and conviction, not just ambition or popular opinion.
So summing it up, the fruit is...
The natural outcomes, the real fruit, tend to be things like genuine inner peace, even when circumstances are chaotic, a growing clarity about your purpose, deeper relational compassion for others, and a kind of spiritual resilience that can weather storms. Ultimately, this whole journey, it's like a recovery mission, recovering our Edenic calling, that original design to walk and talk with God, simply in the cool of the day.
So really, this isn't just an invitation to pray more, is it? It feels bigger than that.
Much bigger. It's an invitation to return home, to the one who is still walking in the cool of the day, still whispering, "Where are you?"
And our answer can be, here I am. Let my whole life be a prayer.
Exactly. So we just encourage you, listening, to begin, or maybe begin again, to seek not just prayer as an act, but prayer as a life. Because in that quiet space, that's where you'll hear that ancient life-giving whisper, "You are my beloved. Come, abide."
And living this way, it's not meant to be another burden on your list. It's actually a delight. It's the way back to your true center. And in that unseen conversation, you won't just be speaking to God. You'll find yourself becoming more like him.